Welcome to the Worldwide Culinary Apprentice for another class in pastries. In the past, we made a pastry cream, and we turned that pastry cream into a mousseline, also known as a German buttercream. And today, I'm going to use that German buttercream and a wonderful American milk sponge cake to make what is called a Fraisier. So the ingredients are our mousseline, our cake, and fresh strawberries. Absolutely delicious. So first what we're going to do is we're going to need to have a cake ring. And so I'm going to make a 6-inch cake ring. And I have my cake right here, but I'm not going to put just the cake inside. I need to trim the cake so that it can fit on the inside of my ring. And what we want to see when we finish this is we want to see just the beautiful cut of the strawberries. And we're going to make sure that we cut the strawberries in a beautiful half like this. We're going to fill it in the center as well. So we just want to see the beautiful picture center of those strawberries on the whole outside of the ring. Okay? So what are we going to do? I'm going to start first by getting my cake done. So I need a serrated knife. I'm going to use just about a 1/2 inch of cake. So I'm looking right here at my board. I want to give myself just a little bit of a start here. I'm going to start to cut 1/3 of the way into my cake, and then I'm going to turn it and cut some more, the same level. So I'm using my cake as what I've already cut as my measurement until I go all the way through and I have a nice even layer. So I need 2 of these. So I've cut 1. And now I'm going to cut the second. So there I have 2 pieces. So I'm looking at it. I think I'm going to use this piece because I love that little rich deliciousness that's on the top of the cake. And I need it just to be a little thinner at the top piece. So I'll put this to the side. And now, I have my ring and I can put my cake right over it, but it's not going to fit perfectly. So I need to trim my cake just a little bit to go on the inside. As I said before, when I make this, I don't want to see the cake. I just want to see the strawberries and the mousseline. So I'm going to trim a little of my cake off the sides. Try to keep it as round as possible. You don't have to worry too much. People aren't going to see it, but you don't want to cheat anybody of their fair share. Put my ring there, make sure I have a little room. Okay. And it's fitting on my board very nicely. Now this leftover cake that I have, do I throw it out? Not necessarily. I may want to hold on to this cake and use it as a filling for another tart, especially if I'm using one with a fresh fruit. I can use it to absorb it. It could be wonderful bread crumbs to coat something with before you fry it. So right here I have that done. Now I'm going to make sure I'll take my cake, pick my cake up so I can get my strawberries in first. And I'm going to put my strawberries in. So how do I get my strawberries inside? I first want to make sure that they're cut very nicely. So I have my cutting board. And what I've done is I've taken some strawberries and I've cut them into a nice little dice or brunoise, nice little cubes of them. I'm going to take my strawberries. I want to make sure that everything is even. So I want to make sure that my strawberries have the very same height when I look at them. I don't want to, when I look at the side of the cake, I don't want to see one high and one low. I want to see them even. So I'll look at my strawberries like that, angle them up. You can line them up together, make sure that the tips are in line together, and then trim your bottom. Be conservative about trimming. Set them up and take a look at them, because if you've cut a little less than you need, you can always go back and take that off. But if you cut it too short, it's too short altogether. So that's perfect. What do I do with the rest of the strawberry? I just cut that up, and I'm going to put that right inside with the rest of my strawberries for the center. Okay? So we're looking at our strawberries. We have this nice little pretty center we have for them. How do we get that center? We have to look at our strawberry. A lot of times people don't realize it, but the strawberry has a little bit of a shape here, and where it's a little bit more wide, you want to cut across that section. And you have that pretty center. And if you look at them, you'll all see that they have a little area that's a little bit wider, and you cut right across that. And a beautiful center. Okay? So now, I'm going to put together my cake. So I have my base with a board. I'm going to take my strawberries and set them right in the center, and I want them right up against the ring. Now, how many strawberries do you need? Well, that's an easy thing to figure out. If you take your whole strawberries and put them inside the ring until you get halfway, that tells you you're going to cut them in half. So if you have 5 strawberries to 6 strawberries and they make a demicircle, then you know that you have enough strawberries to fill the whole ring. So you don't have to do a lot of calculation. And you don't have to cut more than you need. It's especially important with your business. So I'm going to press these strawberries. I want them one right against the next, nice and tight. I have a little gap there, so I'm going to press over just once. I need this one cut. Cut one more strawberry. And I'm going to fit that right inside. So if you look inside, you can see that the strawberries are beautifully aligned all the way around the ring. So I've got my strawberries beautifully placed in here. Now the next thing I need is to make sure if I have a beautiful mousseline side, a nice finish before I put in my cake. So I'm going to take some of my mousseline and I'm going to use it almost like spackle. I'm going to make sure that I press it right up in between my strawberries. All those little gaps, if there's a slight little gap between the strawberries, I want to make sure that it's nicely pushed in there. So take your spatula and don't be gentle with it. Really put that pressure there. You want to go up the whole side. You're going to fill this with the mousseline, but it's really nice to have it pressed all around the whole side and right between those strawberries, most important. And by putting it on with your spatula, you can also make sure that you have a nice, smooth coating for it to be unmolded. We have a gelatin in here, so it's going to help hold the pastry cream to a nice consistency. So even when taken out of the refrigerator, it'll have a nice texture. It won't flop or get too soft. Now, if you don't want to use gelatin, if you're a vegetarian, you don't like to use gelatin, well, if you're a vegetarian, you're not going to be eating pastry cream, but if you don't like the idea of using gelatin, you can always use agar-agar or arrowroot. So right there, I like to give it a nice spackle. Make sure that my strawberries are covered nicely. And you can see right in there, it's covered the whole way. Okay? Now I'm going to put my cake in the center, and you're going to have to trim this so that it fits right in the center of it. You want it to be snug enough where it's pushing against the strawberries, but not too snug that it causes the cake to pop out once it's unmolded. And then once that's done, I'm going to add a little bit of soaking syrup to it just to make sure that I soak my cake really nicely. And I'm using a little framboise because it has the strawberry in there and it's going to add a lot of flavor. Once that's done, now I'm ready to add more of my mousseline. So I'm going to use a pastry bag. my mousseline inside. Cut the bag. Use that air. Push it down. Now remember, when you're piping, you want to lock it between your forefinger and your thumb, and tighten it to your palm. This is the power of piping. So I'm going to pipe a nice line of pastry cream right in here to fill that gap on the bottom if there should be one, but mine's nicely sealed. So now I'm going to put more mousseline inside, and then I'm going to begin to add those wonderful strawberries we cut. So what's a strawberry cake if you don't have enough strawberries in there? Make sure I have plopped one a little too close there. So you really want to make sure you get a nice layer to the outside. More strawberries. And I have this one left over, so I'm not going to waste it. Add that as well. And now I'm going to fill it with the rest of my mousseline. I'm going to save just a little bit of it for the top. Now I want to put my cake in, so I'm going to make sure that it's nice and smooth here. Now I'm going to fit my cake inside, but I have to trim it again. So I just wanted to fit it on the inside of my ring. Now I'm going to make this just a little lower than the ring itself, because I want to finish this Fraisier off with a little bit of marzipan. So I need it just to be a little lower. Put a little pressure on so that you can make sure that the cream is there. And then I'm going to use what I have left to fill up the sides. I'm going to scrape this down. That should be just enough to fill the top of my Fraisier. A little bit here. Nice thin coat. I'll take a little bit of what's off the sides here, because that's where my marzipan is going to go. And I need just enough just to finish it off. And just like that, my Fraisier is finished. I'm going to let it chill. Once it's chilled, then I'm going to finish it off with my marzipan. I've left just a little bit of an edge there, so when I roll my marzipan in, it'll fit right down on the surface, and it will be perfect. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator and then come back to it. So we have that cake now. It's been chilled, and now we're going to remove the ring. So what I want to do before I do that is I want to finish the cake. So I'm going to finish this cake by putting marzipan on the top. Now, marzipan we've made previously, so if you look at the description, you'll find a link that will take you to marzipan and marzipan modeling. That also includes a rose and how to color your marzipan. Check the description and you'll be able to find those links. Okay, so I have my marzipan. I've colored it a pale green, not too dark. I'm going to use my parchment paper right here. Take the marzipan, I want to work it so it's nice and warm and soft, and I've gotten the fat's up a little bit. The oil's brought to the surface. So I'll work it just a little bit, and I'm going to shape it into a round. I'll put it between my parchment paper, and I'm going to use a rolling pin to roll it. So you can press down a little bit and then begin to roll. I'm using about 100 to 125 grams. And I just want to get a nice, about 1/8 of an inch thickness of marzipan. And as you're rolling it, you'll be able to see the oils begin to come up. You can move it around a little bit so that you can continue to get a nice round shape. I'm not worried about it being perfect. I now take my cake. I'm going to take my marzipan, lay it right on top of the round, make sure it's centered, use my rolling pin, go across it, press my marzipan down, and know that it is sealed to the surface. And now I have a nice finish to my cake. Now I'm going to unmold it. So first, I'm going to take a torch, hear the gas. My torch is done. I'm going to go all the way around the sides of my cake, from top to bottom. Make sure that you do this. You don't want to do it with paper underneath, so you'll ignite your paper. You could always put a sheet pan underneath there if you're concerned about the surface that you're working on. And then, there is my Fraisier. So we're not quite finished with it. We still have to finish it. I'm going to put a beautiful rose right on top just to make it nice and attractive, and I'm also going to print the words Fraisier on the surface. So if you looked earlier, you can find another one of those classes. We talked about cornets and royal icing. So I have my royal icing and I put it in my cornet. Now I'm just going to cut a small hole. That's all I need. You can always practice first before you start so that you have a nice flow to it. Start with my line right there, then I create a string, draw it up, and as I anticipate my end, I stop my pressure and finish. E R. So, with that written, I'm now going to add my rose. So I'm going to tilt my rose just a little bit, right to the front here. And I want to add some leaves. Give them a little stylization, a little shape to them. And with that, I have my beautiful Fraisier. So I hope that you enjoy it. I hope you've enjoyed the class. Please comment back. Let us know how you enjoy the classes here on Worldwide Culinary Apprentice. And if you like them, let us know. See you next class.